Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm Chris. I've been drinking a little bit. I just did the Decemberist part 2, and that was an awesome video. So this is Napoleonic 1813, Napoleon 1813, the road to and we're just gonna pretend like I got that right. I have been drinking Bud Light Seltzer Hard Soda Original. This is orange. I had 2 for the last video. My cupeth is pretty much emptieth. I'm gonna go ahead and pour this bad boy on in here. Oh yeah. 5% alcohol, 0 sugar, 100 calories. Oh, it was a long day today. So I'm probably going to have about 4 to 6 of these, maybe 8. And then I'm going to call it a day. Oh, you can smell it. The orange, I've already had the orange before, but you can, it smells like Fanta. Okay. But this is Epic History TV. We're just going to keep rolling with the Napoleon stuff. And, let's go. By the way, I apologize. It's 7:30 p.m. I haven't had dinner. So I'm going to be snacking off to the side. I'm eating pizza. And it is what it is. Damn it. I didn't get to read it. Oh. He bestowed peace on Europe, but he has not. Wait a minute. What a career Napoleon has ruined, having gained so much glory. He could bestow peace on Europe, but he has not done so. This spell is broken. What spell? The spell of peace in Europe? Okay.
1812 had been a disastrous year for Napoleon. His invasion of Russia had led to the almost total destruction of an army of 500,000 men. Now Poland and Germany were wide open to Russian attack. Some advised Emperor Alexander that this was the time to make a favourable peace with Napoleon. Russia's own armies had been mauled and Western Russia devastated. But Alexander was determined to see Napoleon defeated for good, to free Europe from his clutches, and avenge Moscow's destruction by taking Paris. Napoleon's allies were deserting him. Prussian troops had already agreed a truce with the Russians. Schwarzenberg's corps marched back to Austria, which assumed a policy of watchful neutrality. Napoleon had left Marshal Murat in charge of the remnants of the...
Question. Did these countries kind of turn their back on... I apologize. Sorry. Did these countries turn their back on Napoleon because maybe they lost a little respect for him because he had a bad year, especially dealing with Spain from 1809 to 1811? So did they kind of look at him like, he's not the guy he used to be? So they were willing to have peace with Russia and go back home and declare neutrality because they just didn't feel like he was the guy anymore? Does that make sense?
Army, but he left for the Kingdom of Naples, hoping to cut a deal with the Allies that would let him keep his throne.
Yeah.
He was replaced by Napoleon's stepson Eugene, who'd proved himself a brave and able soldier in Russia, but was unused to independent command, and now faced odds of 4-1. As Russian forces advanced through Poland, he continued to retreat west, leaving garrisons to hold strategic fortresses, most of which were soon besieged. On the 7th of February, Russian troops entered Warsaw unopposed. Napoleon's Polish client state, the Duchy of Warsaw, effectively ceased to exist. 3 weeks later, Russian troops entered Berlin, while Sweden joined the Allies.
Wow.
Sweden was ruled by Napoleon's former Marshal Bernadotte, now officially known as Crown Prince Karl Johann. Many would accuse him of betraying Napoleon, but he'd always been clear that once he became Sweden's Crown Prince, he'd pursue Swedish interests, which is what he now claimed to do. In exchange for...
There's nothing wrong with that. He didn't betray. If he's telling that out the box, then he didn't betray anyone. They just didn't take him at his word. That's their fault, not his.
Norway, to be taken from France's ally, Denmark, and £1 million from Britain. Bernadotte agreed to join what was now the 6th coalition against France since the Revolution, with an army of 30,000 troops. 10 days later, King Frederick William of Prussia declared war on France. It followed weeks of indecision. The king was widely seen as a weak character and terrified of Napoleon. But with guarantees of Russian military support, the return of lost territory, and enormous financial and material aid from Britain, he agreed to field an army of 80,000 men.
Wow.
On the 17th of
Dude really was a coward, wasn't he?
March, he issued a proclamation to the people of Prussia and Germany, "An mein Volk," to my people, summoning them to fight for Prussia and Germany's honor, in what would soon be known as the German War of Liberation. The Prussian army had been greatly reformed since its humiliating defeat to Napoleon in 1806. A military commission headed by General von Scharnhorst had sacked nearly 200 old generals and abolished flogging, expanded recruitment and introduced exams for officers, and overhauled training, tactics and drill. When Napoleon met the new Prussian army in battle 2 months later, he remarked, "These animals have learned something." Small consolation, they'd learned most of it from him. This video is sponsored by CuriosityStream, home of more than 2,500 online documentaries, exploring science, technology, the natural world, and of course, history. This month we've been watching a French documentary about that other great warrior son of France. To get your first 30 days free. Thanks to CuriosityStream for sponsoring this video.
Thank you.
As his enemies massed in Germany, Napoleon was in Paris, working tirelessly to build a new army with which to face them. 137,000 new conscripts joined the army, and laws passed to call up 100,000 more, while 40,000 veterans from the army in Spain, 16,000 Marines, and 80,000 men of the National Guard, a home defense force, were transferred to Germany. The new conscripts were nicknamed Marie-Louises, after Napoleon's young wife, who'd passed the new conscription laws in his absence. They were young and raw. 2/3 were teenagers.
Oh no.
And there was a severe lack of experienced officers and NCOs. In short, the countless irreplaceable veterans now lying beneath Russian soil. There was also a critical shortage of cavalry, a crisis mocked by British satirists. It would take Napoleon longer to replace the many thousands of horses and trained horsemen who'd perished in Russia. When Napoleon left Paris for Germany in mid-April, the French situation was precarious. Eugene had been forced back behind the river Elbe to the fortified city of Magdeburg. Dresden, the capital of Saxony, had fallen to the Prussians. The Duchy of Mecklenburg-Schwerin became the first German state to defect from Napoleon's Confederation of the Rhine. Russian Cossacks raided as far as Hamburg, inspiring local revolts against French occupying forces. Meanwhile, Austria stood on the sidelines, so far declining to back either side. Napoleon's miraculous feat of organization meant he now had more than 200,000 troops in Germany. And the Emperor's personal magnetism was undimmed. The morale of his army was high. The Russians, on the other hand, lost their iconic commander, Field Marshal Kutuzov, to pneumonia on the 28th of April. His role was taken over by General Wittgenstein. Russian troops were exhausted and far from home, their army weakened by the need to contain French garrisons across Poland and Germany. Prussia and Sweden had yet to fully mobilize their strength, and Allied forces barely mustered 100,000 men. They were now heavily outnumbered by Napoleon, and the French Emperor decided to strike quickly. He ordered Marshal Davout to Hamburg with 35,000 men to secure his northern flank. He would march against the Russian and Prussian forces converging on Leipzig to force a decisive battle.
Leipzig. That's exactly what I said at the beginning of the video.
Victory would make Austria think twice about joining the Allies, allow him to rescue the 90,000 men trapped in garrisons across Germany and Poland, and re-establish his dominance over Europe. As Napoleon advanced on Leipzig, the Allies faced a predicament: to risk battle against Napoleon's larger army, or give up Germany without a fight, a potentially devastating blow to Allied morale and any chance of winning Austria over to their cause. Allied headquarters made the bold decision to attack. They knew most of Napoleon's army was made up of raw conscripts, that their own troops were better trained and had a great superiority in cavalry and artillery. The Allies agreed that as Napoleon crossed the Saale River, they would hit his right flank before he could concentrate the full mass of his forces. The two armies were on a collision course, but Napoleon's shortage of cavalry meant he lacked information about Allied movements. On the 1st of May, Marshal Bessières, commanding the cavalry in Europe...
I don't want to say this because it makes me sound a little stupid, but I never thought about cavalry being kind of like a scout. Like, how am I wording it right? I never thought of cavalry being... Oh, sorry, mate. Oh, sorry. I'm sorry, sweetie. I never think of, I should say, cavalry being kind of like your scouts, your spies, whatever you want to say. I never think of it that way. I always think of them being, because we don't use cavalry, you know, cavalry charges in military. That's how I think of them. I never think of them being used that way. So that's my fault. But it just kind of hit me, so I have to say it, even if it sounds stupid. I apologize.
It's
the drink.
Was carrying out reconnaissance himself when he was hit by a cannon.
Reconnaissance, that's the word. Oh.
Killed instantly. Bessières was the second of Napoleon's marshals to be killed in action, and like Lannes, an old comrade and trusted friend. Allies were...
He was hit with a cannonball. God. That can't leave much. Cannonballs aren't very big. But the exit wound. God.
were able to surprise Napoleon, falling on Marshal Ney's Third Corps near Lutzen. Ney's troops had to cling on in the face of a Russian and Prussian onslaught, while Napoleon rapidly redirected his other corps to fall on the enemy's flanks.
Sorry again, I apologize. Was Napoleon a... like, if things are breaking down, was he a charge, get into the battle, pull out his sword, start hacking people, pull out a gun, shoot? Or was he a general who kind of led from the back? Because so far I don't see him getting involved. He seems like a field commander more than a getting into the battle kind of a soldier. So is that what he was? Panda, you'll know. You tell me, Panda. Do you understand what I'm asking? Was he a more sit from the back in the battlefield, look at everything, and then tell them to go there, Or was he a guy who was like, screw this, and he pulled out a sword and he just rode his horse into battle and just started hacking people?
At one stage, Napoleon had to personally help rally routing troops as they broke in the face of determined Prussian assaults.
Okay, kind of.
But on the whole, his young conscripts fought with courage. And despite hours of savage fighting, Wittgenstein could not exploit his early advantage. As French reinforcements arrived, the battle turned against him. Towards dusk, the Allies were forced to break off the engagement, though they'd inflicted around 22,000 casualties, losing just half as many men. General von Scharnhorst, mortally wounded, was among them. Crucially, Napoleon's lack of cavalry meant he was unable to pursue the enemy, who retreated in good order. Expecting the Prussians to fall back on Berlin, Napoleon sent Marshal Ney in pursuit, while he continued east. But the Allied army stayed together, withdrawing to a defensive position at Bautzen, deliberately close to the Austrian border, hoping to entice Schwarzenberg to intervene, and daring Napoleon to violate Austrian neutrality. Neither happened. Instead, Napoleon ordered Ney to swing south to fall on the Allies' northern flank, while he launched a frontal assault to pin them in place. The battle lasted 2 days, as French infantry struggled forward against the Prussian and Russian lines. But a misunderstanding over Ney's orders caused a delay that allowed the Allies to narrowly escape Napoleon's trap. Once more, the Allies fought with great determination and inflicted many more losses than they suffered. There were more casualties during the pursuit, including the next day General Duroc, Grand Marshal of the Palace, responsible for Napoleon's personal arrangements, and his closest surviving friend. Riding with Napoleon's staff, a freak cannon shot ricocheted off a tree and disemboweled him.
God damn.
His slow, painful death deeply upset Napoleon. The Emperor continued his pursuit to Breslau, once again hindered by his lack of experienced cavalry, while Oudinot was sent north to take Berlin, but was held at Luckau by von Bülow's Prussian corps. On the 2nd of June, with both sides strained to breaking point, neutral Austria proposed a ceasefire, which, to the surprise of many, Napoleon accepted. The armistice of Plaswitz would last more than 2 months, a period of intense diplomacy and military mobilization by both sides. Napoleon wanted time to rebuild his cavalry, a shortage of which had allowed the Allies to escape twice. But he also wanted to keep Austria on side, which he feared might join the Allies with 200,000 troops, even though Emperor Francis I was now his father-in-law, since Napoleon's marriage to his daughter Marie-Louise in 1810. Austrian Foreign Minister Clemens von Metternich, who'd become one of 19th century Europe's most influential statesmen, now took centre stage. Metternich wanted peace and to see Austria restored as a great European power, which meant Napoleon contained, but not crushed, which would hand too much power to Russia. In June, he travelled to Dresden to ask Napoleon to make concessions, while promising the Allies that if he did not, Austria would join them. But Napoleon dismissed Metternich's terms out of hand. He would not return the Illyrian provinces to Austria, agree to the repartition of Poland, or the breakup of the Confederation of the Rhine. All were out of the question.
And I'm guessing he did that because that was his father-in-law's country, and he figured there's no way he's going to turn on me. I've got him by the balls, in a way. That's what I'm just going to guess.
Napoleon famously threw his hat to the ground in fury. "Peace and war lie in your Majesty's hands," Metternich is said to have warned him. "Today you can still make peace. Tomorrow it may be too late." But Napoleon preferred war to what he called a humiliating peace.
I'll be honest, I don't see anything humiliating in that. If you're keeping a country out of the war, you kind of got to keep them out, you got to give a little bit. You got to give to take. I'm sorry, my dogs are growling at each other sitting on the opposite ends of the chair. Like, you got to give to get. So if you want to keep them out of the war, you got to give them something. And you're getting in return, they're not entering the war. Now, if they were to enter the war afterwards, it's a dick move. And you got to totally kill them, if you can. But yeah, you got to give to get.
On the 12th of August 1813, Austria joined the 6th.
So was that, I apologize, was that saying, let's say the emperor was Napoleon, meaning that Napoleon either has superior forces or he himself is a superior general on the field of battle. So you're going to lose to him, but you got to wipe out as many of his people as you can to kind of offset that. And eventually, if he doesn't have good commanders underneath him, he can't be everywhere at once. So he's going to have to start negotiating. That's what I'm taking from that. Am I right or am I wrong, Panda?
Coalition and declared war on France. The Allies now had a numerical advantage of 3-2, and a new strategy, the Trachenberg Plan. Recognizing Napoleon's genius, the Allies would avoid battle with the Emperor and instead target his marshals, threaten his flanks, and wear down French forces, until it was time to close in for the kill.
Wow.
Over the next few months, the coalition would also receive massive material support from Britain, including,
of course they did,
£8 million in silver and gold coin,
wow,
200 cannon with transport, 120,000 firearms, 18 million rounds of ammunition, 23,000 barrels of gunpowder, 30,000 swords and sabres, 150,000 uniforms, 175,000 pairs of boots, 1.5 million pounds of beef, biscuit and flour, and 28,000 gallons of rum and brandy.
How the is Great Britain producing that much stuff? How? What are they, stealing it from Sweden? Like, how are they getting that much stuff? And I know the answer is, well, they made it. Or they got it from their other colonies. But my God. How did a country that small rule the world for so long? That's amazing. My goodness.
The total value of British aid to the coalition in 1813 was £11.3 million. Today, worth around $500 million. Napoleon, meanwhile, had turned Dresden into a major supply depot and strengthened his cavalry arm, though it remained a pale shadow of its glorious past. Murat returned to lead it, his secret approach to the Allies having been rebuffed. But when news arrived of King Joseph's disastrous defeat to Wellington's Anglo-Spanish-Portuguese army at the Battle of Vittoria, Napoleon had to send Marshal Soult, one of his best commanders, to salvage the situation. On the 15th of August, Napoleon left Dresden and advanced against what he considered the most urgent threat.
I apologize. I just opened a cherry, and as I said in the video before, it smells like this would be an RC Cola or just a generic kind of cherry flavored drink. My God, these are good. The orange is the best. The orange is phenomenal. And I said these are bad decisions. I'm going to drink every single goddamn one of these things, and I'm going to love it. This is my 4th one of the night, and this is only the 2nd video I've done. But it's okay, because I'm done after this video. I just missed my button.
The joint Prussian-Russian army of Silesia, commanded by General Gebhard von Blücher, soon to win the nickname Marshal Vorwärts, Marshal Forwards, for his aggressive leadership.
Okay.
But Blücher followed the new plan and retreated when he learned of Napoleon's advance. Napoleon then received news from Marshal Saint-Cyr, holding Dresden with 20,000 men, that Schwarzenberg's gigantic army of Bohemia was approaching, and the city and its supplies were in danger.
Oh, they were drawing
Napoleon
him out.
left Marshal MacDonald to keep an eye on Blücher, and raced back to Dresden, sending Van Damme's First Corps to threaten Schwarzenberg's communications.
I just want to say, I can't pronounce the names, I apologize. I'm an American. I gotta say that since Napoleon left this guy now is going to attack Napoleon's second in command. I'm calling that out now. Now, he might hang around Dresden for a little bit and then retreat, just enough for this guy to maybe get the upper hand. I'm calling it out now. I have no idea if that's how it works or that's how the battle's going to go, but I'm going by what was said.
By the time the Allied assault began, enough reinforcements had arrived to fight off the attack. The next day, despite being heavily outnumbered, Napoleon ordered a counterattack. Struggling through mud and heavy rain, Marshal Murat's advance, supported by Victor's Second Corps, broke the Allied left flank and took 13,000 prisoners. The Allies had suffered a disastrous defeat because they'd ignored their own rule. Don't take on Napoleon in battle. But news soon arrived that turned the situation on its head. Marshal Oudinot had resumed his advance on Berlin with 66,000 men, but in 3 days of heavy combat around Grossbeeren, he was defeated by Bernadotte's Army of the North. Some of the most savage fighting was between Napoleon's Saxon allies and von Bülow's Prussians.
Why the crosses? Is that a cemetery? Sorry.
Two German states that for now remained on opposing sides. 3 days later, at the Katzbach River, Blücher inflicted a crushing defeat on Marshal MacDonald, driving some French troops into the river itself.
Holy shit.
MacDonald lost 30,000 men, 3 eagles and 100 guns, for Blücher's 22,000 casualties. 3 days after Napoleon's victory at Dresden, as Van Damme's corps pursued the Allies, it became trapped in wooded valleys around Kulm and was overrun. General Van Damme himself was dragged from his horse by Cossacks, as he and 10,000 of his men were made prisoner. Napoleon sent Ney to take over from Oudinot, who engaged Bülow's Prussian corps at Dennewitz. The Prussians, fighting to save Berlin, held their own until Russian and Swedish reinforcements arrived to turn the battle decisively in the Allies' favour. Ney's retreat became a rout, with the loss of another 22,000 men.
Uh-oh, MacDonald's moving in.
Napoleon's brilliant victory at Dresden had been completely overturned in just 10 days. The Allied plan was working. Napoleon became increasingly frustrated as Allied armies withdrew wherever he advanced, and advanced wherever he was not.
That is pretty goddamn genius, though. Why fight him? If you don't feel like you're going to have a... That's what it is. You don't want to fight him because he is widely considered the best military general on the face of the planet in the history of the world. So why go against him? Why go against number 1 when you can face number 614,809? Yeah, I'd go against that guy. No offense. That's the person I'm going to take on. Whoever came up with that plan, although so simple, is actually very genius. Or am I supposed to say ingenious? Very smart. Very good. Yeah, okay, I apologize. It's the alcohol. These goddamn hard sodas are delicious.
His teenage conscripts were exhausted by constant marching and famished as Saxony had been stripped bare of supplies. Thousands fell sick, thousands more deserted. Russian and Prussian light troops were now operating behind Napoleon's army, harassing his communications with France. Many of Napoleon's marshals advised him to pull back to the River Rhine. But Napoleon wasn't giving up Germany without a fight.
It's too much pride. Called it.
By October 1813, Napoleon faced 250,000 Allied troops in Germany, converging on him from 3 directions. 900 miles away, Field Marshal Wellington was crossing the Bidassoa River into France, the first enemy army on French soil in nearly 20 years.
Wow.
While the Kingdom of Bavaria, a French ally since the days of Austerlitz, had secretly agreed to switch sides and would declare war on France on the 14th of October. Napoleon planned to defend the line of the River Elbe. But the arrival of General Bennigsen's reserve Russian army freed up Blücher, who suddenly marched to join forces with Bernadotte and forced his way across the Elbe at Wartenburg. Napoleon went north with 150,000 men, seeking the decisive battle that would change his fortunes. But once more, Blücher narrowly escaped him. Then came news from Murat, who'd been left with 67,000 men to cover Schwarzenberg. The enemy had bypassed Dresden and was heading for Leipzig. If the city fell, Napoleon would be cut off from France. Once more, he was advised to fall back to the Rhine. But instead, Napoleon ordered all his forces to concentrate at Leipzig. He would risk everything in one great battle to decide the fate of his empire and the fate of Europe. Thank you to all our patriots.
God damn it! I wanted to see more! Oh man, it's 8 o'clock. Do I have another video in me tonight? Damn it, I want to. I can't leave myself on a cliffhanger. I hope you enjoyed this video. I am loving this. This has been great. I am loving these. You know, when you grow up in America, they teach you American history, and there's nothing wrong with that. We don't have a whole lot of history, so they just want us to, they teach us this, and they teach us a lot of myths. Dating back with George Washington. You know, George Washington threw a stone a full mile over the Potomac River. And you're like, oh, okay, wow. Well, he didn't. It's a lie. And I didn't really care so much about American history until I got in my early 30s. Mid-30s. I mean, mid-teens. And I realized I just had this love for it, and it was just something sparked in me. I'm enjoying these videos. It's not the same. I would watch American history videos more, but I am truly enjoying these videos. Like it's really fascinating to me. I'm amazed that Europe continued after the American colonies started. I'm just joking. I'm joking. You mean you guys didn't just focus on us? I'm joking. All right. I'm going to end this video here. I don't know if I think I might end up doing the next video now. I mean, if I do, I should probably get a couple more of these hard sodas. God damn it. What am I going to do, Kris? I mean, I really do feel a pretty good buzz right now. I probably shouldn't drink anymore. Alright. Well, I'm going to end this video here and then finish the rest of that and debate. Because I have to go to sleep in about... I have to head to bed in about 45 minutes to an hour. I'm having a great night. This is fun. It's a Monday. I don't care. I'm enjoying it. Alright. I'm going to end this video here, but like and subscribe. I'm loving this stuff. Thanks for watching. Have a good night. Have a good day. Have a good night.